Those Were the Days is filmed before a live internet audience.
It's showtime. I am your host, Amy, the ghost with the most, and we are here on Those Were the Days. We're here to talk about some good old TV, but I cannot do it by myself. Beetlejuice. It's Steven.
Yeah, this is ABC Family, and we're looking for some more cartoons for our family lineup. Any ideas? Have I thought about Beetlejuice? The movie about the demon that attacks a bunch of artsy-fartsy people in a small New England town? That doesn't sound kid-friendly. And didn't Beetlejuice force Lydia into marriage? Oh, we can change it. Is old Timmy B good with that? He is. Are you sure? Okay, well, let's play Lucy Juicy with it and just make Beetlejuice Lydia's best friend so they can go on grand adventures in the underworld. Thanks for the idea.
Beetlejuice. It's Audie.
Though I know I should be wary, still I venture someplace scary. Ghostly haunting, I turn loose. Ant milk, ant milk, ant milk! Wait. Here it is. Spider cider, spider cider, spider cider! Nothing. Fly tea, fly tea, fly tea! Okay. Oh, here it is. Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice!
And Beetlejuice, it's Travis.
All right, so Prince Vince hints that since mints make him wince, and they give him shin splints, I think we should rinse and mince some quince from Port-au-Prince and make a blintz.
I'm leaving. I'm quitting the show.
I'm done.
I'm gone.
Set the bar too high.
Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next week.
That's all we've got for you tonight.
I'm out. That's all I have.
By the way, the only chance I had to get through that was to not think about it at all and
No, you
not
can't.
practice it ahead of time. I wrote it, I said it one time, and then I'm like, all right, sink or swim.
Just go. If you say it confidently enough, we will not notice.
Yeah.
Hey, if somehow through all that you didn't put it together,
Somehow.
tonight we're talking about Beetlejuice, specifically Beetlejuice, the animated series,
Yes.
which ran from September 1989 to what is it, 93, something like that. No, the end of 91, December 1991. So as Steven, so we're doing Fox Kids shows. I know, I did bend the rules a little bit, except the majority of the episodes were on Fox Kids, so I feel like I'm fine here.
Yeah.
But it did start on ABC, and then moved over to Fox Kids for another 65 whopping episodes. I mean, I feel like there's not like a ton to say about it, except that it is Beetlejuice. And as Steven said, right, like if you do think about it too hard, you're like, this is, but I feel like we were doing a lot of, like, we've traditionally done a lot of cartoons that were maybe not meant for children, like from proproperties that were not meant for children.
Rambo.
Oh,
Rambo
yeah.
got a cartoon.
The 80s.
Attack of the Killer Tomatoes? Really?
Mhm.
Yeah, that had a cartoon. RoboCop, I don't know about a cartoon, but it
Yeah.
had toys in
It
the
did.
toy
It did.
aisle all over the
It
place.
did.
Yeah. So yeah, this is just one of those, but I think it's probably the most fun one of those
Yeah, I'd agree with
because
that.
it's
Mhm.
Beetlejuice.
Oh, yeah.
Watching this made me realize that the opening for this show lives rent free in my head.
Absolutely.
Every note, every beat of animation,
Mhm.
rent free in my head for the last 30 whatever years.
Mhm.
I have not seen an episode of this in probably 30 years. I have not thought about this cartoon in
Mhm.
at least 25 years. Every second of that opening just
Yeah.
flooded back.
Yeah,
Just knew.
Yeah,
just absolutely.
exactly.
Total recall.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I went through some weird mental tunnel and was like, "What is happening?"
I'm back.
Yeah, it's like the
Oh, no.
butterfly effect. They're like, watch an old cartoon, and I'm back in front of my TV. What happened?
So I assume we're maybe all in about the same place with this show. Yeah.
Sure
Sounds
seems
like
that
it.
way.
Okay. All right.
Mhm.
Good. Then we'll gloss over that part.
Yeah.
Yeah, I loved this show with all of my heart, which is why I did make us all go to Daily Motion to watch it. I was surprised at how many episodes are on there. Like
Yeah,
that's
a
actually
lot.
really
Yeah.
nice. Like the fact that it's because it's definitely not
Okay.
for real anywhere.
Here's a question.
Mhm.
Who, like me, this was your introduction to the character of Beetlejuice?
Yeah, for sure, absolutely. Because I didn't like
No.
scary movies when I was a kid.
Yeah, I never saw the movie before the cartoon.
It was not for me. Like I definitely
Okay.
saw the movie before I saw this.
Yeah, I
And
really,
that's what got me to watch it.
I couldn't tell you which I saw first. Is the chicken or the egg? Because I knew I had Beetlejuice toys. Like I had a coffin toy that Beetlejuice was in, and the
Nice.
pajamas, the blue, black and white
Mhm.
striped
Uh-huh.
PJs with the thing. There's pictures of me in the family photo albums wearing this stuff. But I don't remember,
nice.
and I love the movie, and I love the cartoon, but I don't remember which came first. Mom, which one did I watch first? Write into the email. Those are the days at gmail.com or whatever. I think I got it wrong. We'll do that
You
later.
did. That's
Yeah.
okay. We'll get there. I'll do it wrong
It's
later.
been a long
It'll be
day.
fine. Yeah, because I mean, I was what 8? Yeah, I was 8 when the show started. I wouldn't have watched Beetlejuice when I'm not saying any 8, but my 8.
Right.
I would not have watched that movie. I don't think I watched it too much later though, because the scene with the shrimp cocktail is also just a formative
It's a core
memory.
Just buried
Yeah,
in there.
it's important.
Mhm.
I mean, it is hard for me to look at a shrimp cocktail without thinking it's gonna
Yeah.
reach out
Yeah.
and grab me in the
Grab you.
face.
Mhm.
So the big difference is that like Beetlejuice is less creepy. He's real into puns. He is so into puns. He's really
Mhm.
into puns. There are so many puns.
Mm-hmm.
It was a lot. It was the highest form of humor in
also f-
1991.
I also found it interesting that Lydia is supposed to be a baby goth, is how she's described in like everything you read about the
Uh-huh.
series.
Yeah.
But she's into Beetlejuice and his like fart humor,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
not the weepy, mopey Prince
Yeah.
Vince,
Yeah.
who is effectively a goth. By the way, Prince Vince visually reminded me of the twins Ned and Jed Edison from Day of the Tentacle. Like
Oh,
the facial
see-
structure
Oh,
was
yeah.
exactly the
Okay.
same.
I
and that's all
thought
I
that
could see.
he's just Victor from is it Victor from The Corpse Bride? Is that his name?
Oh, yeah,
I don't know
yeah,
I
his
mean,
yeah.
name.
probably,
Oh,
yeah.
But I mean, it was just straight up,
Uh-huh.
and Corpse Bride is 2005.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you
Mhm.
know. Um,
I'm almost
Yeah,
certain
no-
that Beetlejuice is the reason I wanted to be a comedian when I was a kid. Because
Yeah.
of this whole jokester
Oh.
prankster thing. I
Mhm.
basically hooked up some wires watching this show and was like, that's why.
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
So the episode that we watched is called Prince of the Neitherworld. And so Lydia, it opens with Lydia and Beetlejuice are having a Neitherworld picnic.
Yeah, they are.
And this is where the puns start.
Yeah.
And I couldn't. I was like, oh no, what have I done? It was the strawberry snort cake.
Snort cakes. Yeah. First it was
cakes.
corn on the slob.
Yeah.
Because I was going to write this down. Then
Yeah, of course you were. Yep.
macaroni salad, and then strawberry snort cakes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's
that
a
was
lot-
3
Brent,
lines
like,
and
strap
3
in.
puns and
Strap in,
it's like,
because
okay.
there's just so many more. And it starts to rain. And Lydia's mad because she's like, hey, you said the Neitherworld weatherman said it was going to be nice today. He's like, well, he didn't know the prince was going to be leaving the castle. So this is where we meet Prince Vince in his carriage, pulled by a giant snail. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he just has like a giant rain cloud following him all the time because he's a real sad boy.
Mm-hmm.
And while they're traveling around, the court people are hanging out posters and they're looking for a court jester to cheer up Prince Vince.
Yeah.
Okay, so obviously Beetlejuice is like, this is perfect. This is exactly what I've been waiting for.
The visual puns for that.
Yeah.
He's like, this is right up my alley, and does a bowling thing.
A bowling thing.
And then says, I'm a shoe-in as
Turns
the
it
bowling
as
shoe.
the bowling shoe.
Lord.
It's so many puns.
Mm-hmm.
Oh God. I just have the note. Puns. So many puns. That's literally just like
I
that's
almost
like
put
I
up
can't.
I almost did a counter of puns just so I could see how
just
many
like
there were
count
in
it
this
through.
episode.
So Beetlejuice
You would have
obviously
given up some point. Just be
Yeah,
like, okay.
yeah, it's
It'll
like
feel
I
it'd be
can't.
simple.
Is that a pun? Like sooner or later, you're like, wait, is that something?
Yeah.
Is that anything?
That sounds like one.
Yeah. So the reason that Beetlejuice wants to be the court jester is so that he can perform pranks with impunity.
Which makes perfect sense.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's why most people are in Congress.
Yeah.
So we get to see the court, and everyone in court has a cold because it's just constantly raining
Mhm.
around the very sad boy prince. And the way he like lounges in his throne, being a
it's,
sad boy, it's so good.
it's the best pose.
Yeah.
It's like flash
It
dance
really is.
level, like bent
Mhm.
backwards with
Yeah.
his foot up.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing.
Oh yeah. And they are all hopeful that they will find a court jester soon because they're all going to get pneumonia.
Mhm.
Beetlejuice shows up and he tries some not great jokes. Like, did you hear about the guy who got sawed in half across the road to get to the other side of himself? Yeah.
Beetlejuice is that friend of yours that thinks they're really good at a thing, but they're really not, but you just
They're
laugh
just
anyway.
not. Yeah, and you're like, you know what? Yeah, man. You live your life.
Yeah, you be you.
Mhm.
You're not hurting anybody.
So meanwhile, while he is absolutely flopping at this entire thing, Lydia shows up because they're supposed to go do a thing. And as soon as the prince sees Lydia, it's game over.
Mhm.
And I don't blame him, quite frankly, because they're supposed to go watch the Bride of Frankenstein, and she's got her hair all up. It's real good. And I was like,
Mhm.
yeah, that's fair. So the prince introduces himself, and she's like, "Oh, it's a pleasure, Your Highness." He's like, "Oh, more like your lowness." Yeah.
So as a goth, she should
Yeah.
have been all over him. Like
Yeah.
he's like the poster
Mhm.
child for what she should have been
Well,
into.
and
like a
it's not
preteen
that
goth.
she's not. It's because the dark part is fine. It's just he's just real sad.
Mm.
It's the
You can be a
mopiness.
goth without being a sad boy.
Nobody wants to spend all their time trying to make you feel better. You know?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of
Um,
mopiness is what gets it. It's turn off.
There are videos that show up in my feed of it's a band. I don't know anything about them, but what I do know is they're like two goths and they post videos of them doing like it'll just be like two goths at the grocery store or like two goths at the amusement park, and they're just like deadpan the whole time, and it's just really funny. And
Nice.
that's where we were at here.
Which
So
is funny because that just reminds me of college, like going to SCAD. That was half the
Yeah,
people in
yeah.
Savannah.
No.
So it was like
Yeah.
two goths at
art school,
you know,
just
Yeah, art school. I didn't even know goths still existed. I thought they were gone. I'm just encouraged.
Oh,
to know
yeah.
they're still there.
Oh yeah, they're
Oh,
there.
yeah.
They just can't go out in the sun. It's
There's
cool.
no more malls. Where are they gonna loiter?
I mean, they're the only ones at the malls. That's
Yeah.
the thing.
Yeah.
That's it.
They're
Got it.
just haunting malls. It's just the one hot topic in the pretzel store, and it's just all goths.
Why do I feel so
true.
seen? All of a sudden?
So they go, presumably Beetlejuice and Lydia go off to go watch Bride of Frankenstein or whatever. Later that night, Beetlejuice is going to bed, floating down into his little coffin in his beetle pajamas. And the prince's guards come to get him and drag him back to the castle. And now this is not, he should know better because this is not what happens when you are arrested. Don't start confessing to things.
No.
Don't. So he thinks he's in trouble. So he starts trying to be like, I didn't know that the doorknob that I sold that guy was just from the other side of the door. And I definitely didn't mean to drop that elephant on the cook. They're like, no, shh, no. So the prince is there and he's like, you have got to help me with Lydia.
Mm-hmm.
So Beetlejuice is like, all right, you make me the court jester and I will be your Lydia expert. So this is where it does get like, this part I will concede is the like, if she was really a goth part, because he like, the prince wrote her a sonnet and that's real good.
Mhm.
Beetlejuice is like, she's not into that drippy stuff. You gotta be gross. And no, you don't. Beetlejuice, I don't think you do. I think it's just your whole vibe that she's into, but sure. Which is the part that like the fact that I loved this show so much, and like I mean I did have Garbage Pail Kids, I suppose. But like overall I was not into gross.
There's quadrants of gross. There's like aspects
Yeah.
of gross
Mhm.
that people can
Mhm.
handle. Like even as
Yeah.
an adult, I'm like, okay, I can't watch this movie
I
anymore.
can't.
That got me
No.
somewhere where
Yeah.
I can no longer look
I
at
can't
it.
be there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then there's other stuff that's like that's gross, but I laughed at that, you know. So it's
Mhm.
weird. You can't. Not all gross is made equal.
Yeah.
It's true. Yeah.
So like all good goths, they go to the shopping mall to go buy Lydia a present. Now, I will say opening with jewelry is maybe a little strong. But it's a really
It's a very
sweet
good-
bat necklace.
It
It's
was.
really
It was a very
good.
good necklace.
I
Yeah.
remember that bat neck as soon as I saw it and saw her put it on. It
Mhm.
stuck in my brain as I remember this episode. I remember watching
Yeah.
this because I thought it was weird how that necklace hung because there's no way it could be comfortable.
No.
Because as your resident 70-year-old man, I'm looking at this
Yeah,
cartoon
yeah,
at 6 going,
yeah.
why there's no way that would be a comfortable necklace.
Mhm.
So he's like, look, you're gonna go take her to see a movie. It's the monster tongue that ate Chicago.
I like that book.
I like that book.
So that
That
was,
running
by the
gag.
way, that was a running gag that
Yeah.
harmlessly flew over my head, yet I chuckled at it anyway.
Yeah, it was so
Mm.
funny. So we get to the date and they're at the prince's castle having dinner in that stereotypical like 100-foot long table, and they
Yeah.
are seated at either end of the table,
Well,
and they're trying to look back and forth around like the candelabras.
see, but did Tim Burton invent that trope with Batman? Like,
I don't know. I
where did
feel
that
I don't know,
like
but that's
come from?
exactly what I thought
surely Vincent Price must have sat across a long, like I think that it just kept getting longer, right?
Mhm.
Like I'm
Mhm.
sure
Yeah.
Vincent Price sat at the end of a table across from, someone, and then it's just progressively as we've gone on, the table has gotten longer and longer.
I mean, if
But
Vincent Price did it and then Tim Burton did it, they were, Tim Burton worshipped
Yeah.
Vincent Price, so
Oh,
it
of
feels
course. Oh, yeah.
fair to use
Yeah.
it here.
Oh yeah.
And I'm comforted in the fact that I am not the only one who immediately went to the scene in Batman
Yeah.
Yes.
when that started. Like that just that warms my heart.
Yeah,
Mhm.
you are not alone. Imagine that you're on a podcast with some like-minded people. So
Weird.
Imagine that.
Who knew?
Yeah, what are the chances?
So Beetlejuice is like, I gotta liven things up. So he's doing that, and Lydia's giggling, and everything's great. So they go off to go see the movie. While that's happening, Beetlejuice is alone with all the courtiers at the castle,
Mhm.
and he starts pranking. He turns the one guy's wig into Beetles. That was pretty cool. And they're like,
Mhm.
we're so over this guy. And it's like, there's nothing we can do. Like, the prince is finally stopped. Like, we're drying out finally.
Mhm.
And so we go back to the date to see how it's going. So the carriage has pulled up to the widescreen movie theater.
Ding.
Oh, but hang on, it's double feature
Yeah, it is.
with the 4-hour epic The Crying Clown. Okay, so this animation though,
Lord.
Yeah.
this triggered something in my brain, and I feel like maybe it was in Courage the Cowardly Dog, also that style of weird animation. Like
Could've
maybe
been.
that was like on the I don't know, but that very specific animation that this crying clown thing is, and I was like, this is something.
Yeah,
I
I
don't know what
agree.
it is.
Yeah.
I remembered this as well after I saw it in the pizza flying into the vortex or whatever. I was like,
So
I know this.
I
Mhm.
think this is a Pagliacci joke, and what they've done with it is it's just like clown, Italian, pizza. And I like,
Yeah.
okay.
Mhm.
Like I feel like those are the words that were on the whiteboard, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like it's a mix of a.
Pagliacci,
Mhm.
clown, Italian, pizza? Question mark.
I think it's a mix of that, and then what was the Jerry Lewis movie that never got made? That he was a clown.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
You know which one
I
I'm
don't
talking
know the
about?
name, but I know what you're talking
Yeah,
about.
but I think like that probably was also mixed in there. But yeah, it
Yeah.
was my intro was almost just yelling a bunch of random Italian words very sad.
Pepperoncini. Yeah. So it's just a clown crying about pizza. Lydia is
Mhm.
not into it.
Nope.
The prince offers her some onion chips. She's like, "I'm good, thanks." He like gives them he like huffs them.
He huffs the onion
He
chips so he
huffs
can
the onion
cry.
chips. Now, sweet Vidalia chips are one of the best chip flavors out there,
Yes,
but that's not what this is.
No, I don't think that.
So he huffs these
Dude.
chips and then begins to weep, presumably for the next 4 hours.
Yes.
Um, and
Poor
Lydia
Lydia.
is like, okay. But the monster tongue that ate Chicago was totally worth it.
Apparently.
That part was great.
Mm-hmm.
Also, she loved the book.
She
Yeah.
also loved the book. I'm trying to think. Oh, the wildest double feature at the drive-in ever was oh no, now I can't remember what the other one was. It was Pearl Harbor was one of them, and it was just like a lot at a drive-in.
Dang.
It felt a lot like this. So the prince drops Lydia off at the door back to the real world. He compliments her using the compliments that Beetlejuice taught him,
Mm-hmm.
that her eyes were like mosquito-infested swamp water, and that her hair was as black as a charred frying pan. Okay.
Yeah.
And they're had a good time. Beetlejuice shows up and he's like, "You thought you guys had a good time? I have had a great time." No one around him
Yeah.
has had a great time.
I feel like
But
that's the
he
story
did.
of his life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So next day, presumably, Beetlejuice shows up in Lydia's mirror, which I remembered was a thing that he could do.
Mm-hmm.
And is so excited to hang out with her. And she's like, "Oh, but I have a date with Prince Vince." And this is where Beetlejuice realizes what he has done. She goes to get in the carriage. She goes to get in the carriage and she opens the door and it's just a giant frog. And then he takes the head off and it's Prince Vince and he just goes, "Ribbit." It seemed like a lot. Like, I don't. Okay.
He tried.
Great. I love that for you guys. So now Beetlejuice is mad because he taught the prince how to take Lydia.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, "What did I do that for?" So he's gonna show them
Yep.
by following on their date and attempting to ruin it.
The juice is jealous.
Yeah. So they're going mini golfing, which was another pun that I don't remember. And Beetlejuice keeps trying to ruin it, and it just makes it better. Like he's not doing good. Prince Vince had the royal balloon the royal balloon releasers release some balloons. And Beetlejuice is like, oh yeah, I'll show them, and blows it up, and Lydia's like, oh, that's even better. And he's like, oh man. So he gives up with honestly the best line of the episode. Because he's like, what chance do I have? He's filthy rich, and I'm just filthy. And then came a part that unlocked a lot of memories because I had forgotten about all of these other Neitherworld side characters.
Yes.
Okay, so this is the only time that we get to see them in this episode. I had forgotten their existence. But they're incredible. I definitely probably did not know their names until I looked them up on Wikipedia.
Yep.
Because there's the skeleton Jacques Lalanne, which is a Jack LaLanne reference.
Yep.
Who is a French skeleton bodybuilder, of course. There's Ginger the tap dancing spider. Ginger Rogers. She has a New York accent. And then there's the monster across the street, who looks a lot. I remember him, and he also looks like the monster from like Bugs Bunny.
Yes.
Oh yeah,
totally.
Marvin the Martian-y type, like that, like wall of monster.
Yeah, the big red guy.
He's
just
Chuck
without
Jones
eyes.
monster. Yep.
Yeah.
Like take off the eyes, put on a hat. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he's pretty good.
By the way,
so
you mentioned Wikipedia real quick. The Wikipedia of this show is longer than any other show we have ever done. I went looking at stuff and I was like, this is a mile long. They've got a dang dissertation on Beetlejuice and who he is. And I'm like, what? There's more info here than there was on Mary Tyler Moore. It's unbelievable.
It's so really good.
Yeah, it's in depth.
They did a good job.
There's a
people
fandom.
Are passionate about this show.
Yes.
So they show up at the castle because they're hanging out. You know what I mean? And he's like, Jacques is like, oh, this place would make a great gym. And Ginger's like, I would love to tap dance here. And I don't remember what the monster said. Something. And the prince is like, you can come hang out here.
The ceilings are so high, I won't hit my head.
Oh, yeah.
And the prince is like, you can come hang out here anytime you want. This is great. And again, this is coming on a little strong, but the prince asks Lydia if she will be his princess. Okay. So don't do that. It's too soon, man. You've been on 2.5 dates. It's too soon. So Lydia very sweetly says, like, look, we're having a great time. I'm just not ready for princesshood. I'm not there. And the prince, but look, we can hang out and we can do stuff, and we can do stuff with our friends. And then like an incel on the internet, he absolutely just falls apart because she said the F word.
Friend zone.
And oh god.
Yep.
It's like this was 1991. Oh no. So he's all upset, immediately starts crying, floods the whole throne room. And she's like, hey, I thought we were having a good time. Were you not having a good time? Because we can continue to have a good time. And now you have all of these other friends. And he does sort of like pull himself out of it a little bit, and he's like, okay, yeah, we can still go have a good time. So the courtiers all come storming in, and they have signed a petition that Beetlejuice be strung up by his toes upside down.
Yeah.
And Vince is like, can I just fire him? Beetlejuice
was
goes,
great.
hang on, that toe thing sounds pretty good. Takes the courtiers and hangs them upside down, presumably by their toes, which causes Prince Vince to, for the first time, arguably ever, to laugh.
To laugh.
We all laugh and we do the pull out, like the
Mhm.
classic old TV ending
Mhm.
outside the castle, and everybody's laughing. End
I
of
had my
episode.
one note for this entire episode at this point,
Uh-huh.
which was my only note while watching this episode was Prince Vince's smile is terrifying.
Mhm.
Like
Oh yeah.
that will haunt my nightmares.
He doesn't know what he's
Mhm.
doing.
No, he
He
doesn't.
doesn't.
Yeah. Prince Vince is much better as a sad boy. It was wild that he's just the guy from Corpse Bride, just a decade and a half ahead.
It was really funny too. That end, like I almost was like, "Are we going after school special with this whole Friends thing?"
It
couldn't
was a
help but think
little
of
bit,
that.
right? Like it was a little like, yo, it can be fine. I mean, I feel like there are some people who maybe need to watch this episode.
Right?
Like, it's cool to be friends. It's cool.
Well, and it fits with the series too, because like the whole thing in the Beetlejuice movie is that Lydia gets all interested in Beetlejuice because she is a goth,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and like that interests her in a romantic sense.
Yeah.
And then the show was like, well, we can't do that,
Yeah.
so let's just
Yeah.
make them best friends. So like that, because Beetlejuice is even like he's gonna try and be her best friend. Like he has
Yeah.
no. It doesn't dawn on him at all that that the prince wants to make her his princess.
Right.
No,
Mhm.
he's gonna lose his best friend.
Right.
So I did enjoy that. That was
No,
great.
I think they did a good job of adapting it from what, because I mean, you also got rid of like, they made him gross and gave him fart jokes instead of
Mhm.
making him scary.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, there's a lot of fun imagery in Beetlejuice. I think it's why like kids like me were 5 or 6, parents let them watch that movie because there's a lot of fun, weird, goofy stuff going on. It's just most kids probably wouldn't handle that very well.
Yeah.
And so they're
Mhm.
like, well, let's take this fun stuff that's part of this. And Tim Burton was executive producer on this thing, so he
Yeah.
was well aware of what they were doing with his characters, and it was all like, oh, this is cool. Like even Danny Elfman reworked the Beetlejuice theme
Yeah.
for the show, which I thought was super cool. So they had
Mhm.
full support of the creative team behind it.
Right.
And I think that's awesome. I was actually, after watching it with you guys this time, more into it, knowing that like, oh, this is, yeah, it's an offshoot and it changes a lot, but it was all supported by the creators of the
Yeah.
movie to make it happen. They're like, oh yeah, go to town, make a
Mhm.
kid show. Sounds good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
like
like that stuff.
is it effectively a cash grab? Kind
Sure.
of.
Yeah, oh sure.
But less like blatant, because the people that were behind the project to begin with were like, "Oh, this is a cool idea. Let's do that." Why not? Like,
And again, this is one of those shows where it is written stupid good. Like
Mhm.
all the puns, both said and visual, that they illustrate throughout the entire episode. It's just so good and smart.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Plus, I mean, Nightmare Before Christmas came out in 1993.
Yeah.
Tim
Mm,
had to get us kids like
ready.
you know what I
Into
mean?
his
Like if
stuff,
we had like when you saw Frank and Weenie that one time on a TV channel and you didn't know what it was called, like you knew nothing
Mhm.
about it, but you saw it one
Yes.
night and like you talked to your friends and they're like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Mhm.
Like that man needed to hook us all so that when Nightmare Before Christmas came out, we could all make it our personalities for a
Yup.
good
Yeah.
30, 40 years. It's fine. Like I'm still there. Like I'm there.
Strangely
Like, I'm
enough,
there.
the kids watched that this past week when we were on vacation. Like
Nice.
It's
of all
yeah.
the movies to play, I was like,
perfect
okay.
movie for
Sure.
June,
Mhm.
Yeah,
It
It's
was.
Summerween. Don't
Yeah.
even worry about it.
Well, it got us too. It's like Tim Burton's got an art style. Like Tim
Mhm.
Burton has a visual style. And man, I was into it from the moment I saw it. Then I'm like the swirly stuff, the skinny leg people, the weird angles. Like I'm all about it. And I think some of that's formed because of my early viewings of Beetlejuice and Nightmare Before Christmas. I think you're right on the money. That was Apple giving the second graders Macs for school. You know, like if I can hook them then I'll have them forever. And so here we are.
Here we are. Do you know how excited I am? Have you seen the Beetlejuice trailer?
Oh yeah.
It looks so good.
Yes.
I'm upset at how good it looks. I mean, I'm excited, but I'm like, it has no right.
And
Yet here we are.
Michael flippin' Keaton, come on.
Yeah, I'm in.
Speaking of Stephen, we met. I'm gonna go with. I may mispronounce that. I don't know who did the voice of Beetlejuice in this.
Yeah.
Really good Michael Keaton. Impression.
Yeah, for sure.
Like as a kid, I didn't notice a difference. Like
no,
and that's what you want, right? You want it to be close enough. Because even as a kid, like when the Ace Ventura cartoon came out, like I noticed the difference between the voices. They just didn't match up right. This was one that I knew I had seen Beetlejuice enough times, but it was close enough and it worked.
Yeah. He did such a good job embodying that character with his voice. I was super impressed because I've watched some really bad early 90s cartoons with Sam. Super Mario Brothers comes to mind. And like King Koopa's voice in that show just hurts me how not the character it feels.
What do you mean? You don't like King Koopa?
I'm King Koopa. It's so bad. It's just way over the top. It's just horrible. But
listen, as bad as King Koopa's, I'm sorry, but as bad as King Koopa's voice is, it is nowhere near as bad as either Toad.
Okay, yeah.
In that series. Yeah. Or if you ever watched Captain N the Game Master.
Yes.
Mega Man in that series was horrendous. I'm gonna make you watch that.
Please do. I haven't watched Captain N in a long time. I used to wrap my Nintendo blaster around myself like a belt and run around as Captain N in the yard.
The amount of times I thought about just cutting the cord on that blaster so I could run around with it like Captain N.
Yep. Oh, we're all very alike, aren't we?
And if you recognized, by the way, the voice of Lydia in this, if her voice sounded familiar to you, if you watched the original X-Men cartoon, she was the voice of Jubilee. Allison Court did Lydia, and she was the voice of Jubilee in the X-Men cartoon. That's what I know her from.
And what was it? There was something else she did.
She's done. She was Claire in the Resident Evil. Stuff.
I mean, she's done a lot of voice work.
She's done a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
She's also in X-Men 97.
Right.
They recast Jubilee with a different voice actor, but they brought her back anyway to be a different character that I'm not familiar with. But you look at, she's one of those voice actors with well over 100 credits to her name. Done a lot of work. So.
Yeah, I think the guy who played Prince Vince also did some X-Men, maybe. I don't know, he did a bunch of stuff.
Nobody did.
I mean, you know how it is with these.
Yeah.
They all did. Yeah. Were you a voice actor in the 90s? Great. You did everything.
They're all like contract players, like, ABC knows me, so ABC will hire me again for these cartoons.
Sure.
This might be one of the rare animated projects that we have covered for this show that does not include Frank Welker.
Right? Yeah. Where's our Frank appearance?
Yeah. No, not in this one.
That was interesting.
He was probably busy with some other project.
He was working on like 8 different things at the time. So.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I guess that's Beetlejuice.
Beetlejuice.
Yeah. Beetlejuice. No, didn't happen.
Yeah, not this time.
That's fine. So I want to know how everybody felt like it held up. We will start with Audie.
Oh, if you couldn't tell by the way I was gushing before, this was great. I mean, full of nostalgia, realizing how ridiculous they are with the puns. And
it was a lot.
Lord. And again, both saying them and the visuals, like the animation they did worked so well.
Yeah.
For the time. Yeah, loved it.
How about you, Trev?
I had a real good time with it. I wish it was available somewhere other than
Yeah,
Daily
like for real.
Motion.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's great that it's available via Daily Motion. Don't get me wrong. But I'd love to be able to like have it available on Hulu or Disney or somewhere
Yeah.
that it was easier to watch, because I had a great time with it. It really took me back to, I watched a lot of this on Fox Kids Afternoon.
Yeah.
Mhm.
How about you, Steven?
It made me wonder where my Beetlejuice PJs ended up. Yeah, this was such a, like I said earlier, it was definitely butterfly effect. Like I'm like, oh, I'm back.
Mhm.
I'm back in that living room with the brown carpet and the
Mhm.
giant cabinet TV just glued to it, vibrating at the intro because it's
Yeah.
so awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
I loved it. It was super fun to go back and watch.
Oh, yay. Good. I also had a great time. I'm so happy because I was like, I wasn't sure about this category.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because we were largely a not Fox household. And so I was like, I'm looking at the list and I'm like, I don't know. And then I saw this and I was like, oh no, it's perfect. Oh, I need it. And so like I was a
Mhm.
little worried. I mean, because technically it was like not all of it, but then I saw the episode count and I was like, oh nope, that's fine.
Mhm.
All it had to do was run at some point in that
Yeah.
list, and it
Yeah.
was fine.
So we are wrapping up this Fox Kids topic next week with Travis's pick. Travis, what are we watching?
So we started off with one of the greatest superhero comic book adaptation cartoons of all time with Batman the Animated Series.
For sure.
Mhm.
We are going to go to another wonderful superhero comic book adaptation animated series. We're watching The Tick.
Yes.
Yes.
I debated over several shows for this that are going to come back around at some point for other things.
Sure.
There was The Tick, there was X-Men was part of the Fox Afternoon.
Mhm.
There was The Adventures of Sam and Max Freelance Police
Yep.
was part of it, which is one that's close to my heart. But in
Mhm.
the end, The Tick won out. It's just, I cannot wait. We're going to watch season 1, episode 7, The Tick versus The Tick.
Amazing.
It's one of my
Nice.
favorite episodes of it. All I'm going to say is, to get you ready for it, is Superhero Nightclub.
I'm
And
in.
we'll go from there.
I don't
Yeah,
know what
bring
else
it.
would need to be said. That's perfect.
Mhm.
Let's go.
Did we get any feedback? I don't think we did.
What a
I
wonderful
didn't see
question.
any.
I don't think
I
we did.
know. I don't think we
I
did.
did not see any.
No.
Based on how lucky I've been with my browser stuff
No,
this evening,
don't.
I'm not
Not
touching
you.
anything.
Don't. No, Steven, don't. Don't even think about it. Don't think about your browser. Don't
Nope.
look at it.
I
Don't.
haven't touched anything.
Don't.
Nope,
Well,
nope.
you can leave us feedback. You can email us at those were the days at gmail.com.
Those were they show at gmail.
Show at gmail.com.
Yep.
Or on Twitter at those days show, or any of our social media is in the show notes.
Mhm.
Um
Which I just checked. Nothing on social media either.
Okay,
Sweet
fantastic.
For Beetlejuice. But
You guys are all
and-
missing out because Beetlejuice.
Beetlejuice. The Tick, by the way, in the US is streaming on Hulu.
Fantastic.
So
Love that for us.
Excellent.
So that wraps up this week for Audie, for Stephen, for Travis. I am Amy. Thank you as always for joining us on Those Were the Days.
Beetlejuice.
Beetlejuice.